Hi, how are you tonight? I'm Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent demonstrator, Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York. I come to you every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. with a Facebook Live, and typically I'm showing you cards or 3D projects or something like that. Tonight I have something a little bit different in the way of a new product and some things to show you about an event that I was at this weekend and several things. I guess we'll be kind of busy tonight, but I'll still try to keep it down to an hour at the most. All right, so let me, hang on, let me just make sure that I'm here. There we go. That doesn't usually happen so quickly. All right, let me turn the camera down and we can get started. Okay. All right, I think that looks good enough. We'll find out soon enough. Okay, so I'm not quite sure where to start, to tell you the truth. I think I will start with, I'll start with the fact that I went to an event this weekend. It was a team event. And so the way Stampin' Up! Works is that, it is a direct marketing company. It's not a pyramid scheme or anything like that. But it is a direct marketing company, and so when I joined under a friend of mine who was also a co-worker, and so she was my team leader, and she had a team leader above her, and the two of them sort of worked together like a team, and they put on all kinds of events and classes and things like that I attended. And then both of those people retired from Stampin' Up!, leaving me with no team leader anymore. But leaving me with still all of those people's team members. And those people have been trying to get together every year for the last couple of years to have sort of a reunion event. And so this weekend, that's what happened. One of those things happened. So there were swaps and there were classes that you could take throughout the day, and there were displays to look at. In fact, I did a display there as well, and just lots of stuff to look at. So just to kind of help you understand the whole idea of becoming a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and being a part of a family. And of course, when you have team events and classes, sometimes there are non-Stampin' Up! Demonstrators there as well. You are allowed to invite people sometimes who just might be curious about becoming a demonstrator. But I just wanted to kind of show you a little bit about what it's about. So first of all, there were just some gifts that we were given, just kind of for being there. So this is just a hot chocolate pouch, and yes, there was a pouch of hot chocolate in there, but I realized I hadn't had hot chocolate in ages, and so I had that last night. And then this is a little 4x4 frame, and one of the ladies who helped to organize this event made this as a gift for us. And this is a cute little box. It's called a book box, and this might be something we could make in a class at some time if someone was interested. And this was filled up with about 6 of those not the butter mints, but the big round puffy peppermints that are like red and white striped. So there were 6 of those in here. I use the word were because they're not there anymore. And it's just got a little closure. So this is just a really cute kind of a thing. And these are some ideas for gift items that you could make for people very inexpensively and very easily. This is very simple. It's beautiful, but it's definitely simple. It would not take hours and hours to make. It could probably take 20 minutes to make. I mean, some of the preparation might take longer, but that's about it. We also learned how to use a new product in the holiday catalog, which is called I always say it wrong, so let me see if I can find it and not say it wrong. Hang on. I always forget that we have this wonderful index in the back and that I can look things up, except I can't remember. It doesn't start with the word I'm thinking of. Now I'm starting to wonder if this was perhaps if this was a online exclusive, because here it is. So it's called Take a Bow. It looks like bow, but it's bow. Take a bow, and that's on page 39. And I will say, to begin with, I kind of poo-pooed this. So it comes with, it's a bundle with designer series paper and this die. Now this is actually one die that's all put together, so you're not cutting out all of these things separately. When you use the die, there's got to be a picture of the die in here somewhere. Or not. Well, maybe there really isn't. But when you cut out these 6 pieces, they're all cut from one die. So it's not as tedious as I thought it might be. And the dies come, or the dies cut out paper into little strips, and you assemble the strips and you make yourself a bow. So here's a bow that we made in class. And then I have another one that I didn't get around to making yet. So that was one of the classes. Another one of the classes used the Memories and More cards. And sorry, I got this out for a reason because I wanted to show you. So it's much easier to look at it this way. So this is called the Reindeer Days Memory and More card pack. So it comes with 4x6 cards, and it comes with 3x4 cards. Now these are cards that could be used if you did what's called pocket scrapbooking, or what used to be called, Project Life, or any type of scrapbooking like that, which for some people is an easier type of scrapbooking than making 12x12 layouts. It also comes with stickers, but we used this to make cards, and that was kind of cool. So let me find them real quick. Well, I had everything together. Here we go. So these were the cards that we made using the Memory and More card packs. And I think we all got half a pack, and we only made 4 cards. It was just to kind of show us what you could do with them. So this involved absolutely no stamping. It's got a couple of embellishments on it, and everything else is the Memory and More card pack. I think there was some cardstock used, and in some cases you had to trim down the Memory and More cards to make them a tiny bit smaller. So here we did use some Designer Series paper, but this card right here is from the Memories and More card pack. And here we used some embossed cardstock, and we used some regular colored cardstock, but we also used some ribbon, and we used a Memory and More card. So absolutely no stamping took place here. Now, if you wanted to, you could stamp a sentiment on the inside of your card, absolutely. But if you didn't want to, you really could get away with not doing it. These were some more cards that we made, and this one was using one of the labels packs. And this one I just didn't get a chance to make, but I will. So it's just using some Designer Series paper and a label, and the red thing goes behind the label. And I didn't get a chance to put that together yet. Here is a Christmas tag that we made using the something or other home bundle. I'll show that to you in a second. And here's another card that we made, also using an embossing folder and some of the Druzy gems, and a stamp set and some labels and whatnot. But they're all simple. I mean, do you notice that? They're very simple. First of all, you're getting together with people and you're making cards, and you've got a lot to do in a short period of time. You know, there was a whole day, but people were walking around looking at displays. There were a couple of, there was a woman who did a kind of a demonstration or a talk about craft organization, and showed us some of the things that she does to organize her crafts, and that was kind of cool. So here was a card class. This was a morning card class called Splendid Autumn, and this was using one of those stamp sets, and one of those, is it just called Splendid Autumn? I think it's a bundle or a suite. So we made these. It involved, definitely this one involved some stamping, and the embossed layers were embossed for you, just like I often do embossing for my coffee and a card. So those are just beautiful cards, but again, pretty darn simple. So you could make all 4 of these cards in maybe half an hour, give or take. Then we were also given some of the note cards and envelopes, and we used Designer Series paper and cardstock from the one that I focused on in my displays, the oh my gosh, Elegant Seasons, I think it is. Yeah, that sounds right. But these are the note cards, so they're smaller than A2 size, and we made these. But we also used some of the punch-outs. These are all punch-outs. None of these are stamped or die-cut by us. They were punched out. This one I left blank because I didn't think I wanted to use the punch-out that they suggested. I wanted to try something different. But it all uses that beautiful, elegant paper. So that was another portion of a class that we did. And I had a rather large display. I had a 6-foot table, and I had some cards and some 3D things on that display. But I also had just some other things. So I made a calendar. That was one of my display items, and I thought this would be kind of interesting for you to see. Those of you who come to my coffee and a card know that 2 years ago, I believe it was, we made an easel calendar as a gift, and some people made as many as 6 or 7 of them to give as gifts to friends or family members. And it was a taller one than this. It had a mechanism in the inside that held the card up, and it had a box on the front that had Post-it notes in it. This one I made as an easel card, so much simpler. It has the 2025 calendar on it, and it just has something here that you pop up on dimensionals that keeps this from falling. So it lays flat. It's a little bit smaller than our typical A2 size card, but when you open it up, you can stand the calendar. And what's nice about this one is it doesn't take up too much room on your desk. There are some where you have the calendar comes out to here and there's a Post-it notepad here. I always just think that takes up a lot of room on your desk. I don't know about everybody else's desk, but mine is usually full of stuff. So if anybody would be interested in learning how to make these calendars, please let me know. I'd be happy to show you. So that's what we did in class. I just want to put that down someplace safe for a second. Okay. Oh, I forgot to mention too, we were also given this designer series paper as a gift, and this is called Sentimental Christmas. It's also part of a suite. You can order the paper separately or the suite. And what's very nice about this particular set, and the reason I want to point it out, is on page 29 in this catalog, that this is part of a program that Stampin' Up! Runs called, hang on, I gotta start at the beginning here, go back to page 5, I think it is. This is part of a program that Stampin' Up! Started, I believe, in 2018, and it's called Making a Difference. So every year since 2019, they've had a product. I think it usually is designer series paper, but I won't swear to that. And they give a $3 donation for every pack of the paper that's sold, or if the paper's part of a suite like it is here, then they donate $3 for every purchase of the suite. And the every year the charity's different. I believe last year it was Toys for Tots. This year the money's being donated to a children's literacy program. All right, so it's very pretty paper. It's kind of vintagey looking. You know, if you look at these, they do remind me of things that I saw as a child, like wrapping paper that I saw as a child and whatnot. It's beautiful, beautiful paper. And so that might be something to consider if you purchase this paper. Has lots of really beautiful colors in it. And if you purchase this paper, then you are making a donation as well. So that was another thing that was a gift for attending. Now, the event wasn't free, you know. Not going to lie, the event wasn't free, but it wasn't terribly expensive either, not at all. The other thing that happens at events like this, and sometimes people who participate in classes or are part of crafting groups will do this, so we could certainly do this at some time, is what's called a swap. So basically, if you find out that 10 people are participating in the swap, you make 10 of the same exact cards, that's fine, and you bring them, and you hand out your cards to 10 people, and you go around, and by the time you're done, you have 10 or 20 or 30, depending on how many people are participating. So this one was actually made with retired product. We were not supposed to use retired product. This was from probably 4 years ago, I'm thinking. It was, however, one of my favorite designer series paper ever, so I was very happy to have that. And then here is one that I kind of call a collage front card, where she's used paper. And what's cool about this is that she may have had a leftover piece of this, a leftover piece of that, and you just don't know, all right? And so, oh, well, this was made by Mary Jo. So Mary Jo is one of the organizers of this. We were supposed to put something in, like a business card or a slip with our name on it, so that people would know who it was from. This one was also made by Mary Jo. So she used some designer series paper. Everything here seems to be Mossy Meadow, obviously, except for the ribbon. So it is kind of a monochromatic card. This was my card, and you might remember that because we made this last week online. That was the box card. This one was made by somebody named Cheryl, and that I think is just a gorgeous, gorgeous card. So she used the wood embossing folder. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Timber embossing folder. And she used the designer series paper and some of the twine. It's just a really beautiful card. And this one was made by Lori, and that's just really bright and pretty. It's got the berry burst, and it's got the, I think that's Flirty Flamingo, actually. All right, and I don't remember what set that's from. It's just one that I don't happen to have, but it's very colorful and really pretty. This one, I did not get this set. This was made by Kathy. I did not get this set, but when I see these butterflies, they really do make me happy. They're kind of cartoony butterflies, obviously. They're not, serious butterflies, if you want to call it that. I don't know who made that one, but that's really cute too. I like the window effect there. This one was made by, I don't know. I love that paper a lot, but I'm kind of fond of birds. That's a really nice card as well. And this one was made by Mary Jane. And again, pretty simple. So there's embossed, it's embossed in the back. And these are dies that also kind of emboss and cut out at the same time. So once you're done with your die cutting, it's a pretty simple card. So I wanted to share those because I just thought they were really, really lovely. Okay, so let's see. The main thing I wanted to show you tonight, the thing I wanted to introduce to you, is that, as you know, Stampin' Up! Is kind of getting back into the scrapbooking business. They were heavy into scrapbooking at one time. They sold 12 by 12 scrapbooks as well as, scrapbooking albums, as well as 8 by 10? Something like that, albums. They still sell the smaller albums, and they really are, people think the smaller albums are kind of dumb, but they're not. They really aren't, because they make great gifts. So, somebody may not want to get some big honkin' album for a present, but if you give someone with a smaller album, maybe just with, pictures of the grandkids or whatever. Hey, Dawn, how are you tonight? So people might really appreciate that. So I like to push those as a gift, because if I were a grandmother, I'd love to get that. All right, so these kits, the way they come is they come in a large zip top bag like this, and everything you need, of course, I wish I had like a wide angle lens here. There you go. Everything you need comes in the bag. So in the bag you've got, and this is the part that I think is really great. So if you are really kind of new to scrapbooking, or if you're just not a creative scrapbooker, you can't come up with your own scrapbook sketches or whatever, this is ideal for you. It comes with a full color, full direction packet. And I will admit to you that I had to think more than twice about this. And once I got going, I really got going. So first they have what they call the cutting directions. And this was the part I got a little confused on, but then I got it. So they're basically saying to you that you should cut out everything. You can make 3 2-page layouts, so 6 pages from this particular kit. And this particular kit is one of the less expensive ones at $25, and it is called Halloween Memories. So they want you to cut out everything that you need first. So the first 2 pages are nothing but the cutting directions. And then once you've got all that done, then you're ready to start assembling. And they have the really nice color pictures. Now, why, you may wonder, have I scribbled all over this in blue ink? Well, that is unfortunate. I scribbled all over that in blue ink because, unfortunately, there was some type of a communication breakdown with their vendor, and the directions just lost something. I don't know. So they put out this different one. It is in color, but I printed it in black and white just to save ink because I knew I had the original. So there were some directions. The cutting directions were all correct. There were no mistakes there. It was just in the wording of some of the assembly directions. So I started out just correcting it and realized there were so many corrections that it was going to confuse the heck out of me. So what I probably should have done was taken the new directions, cut them out, and glued them on top of the old directions right on the color pages. However, I had double-side copied it, so I wasn't able to do that. But anyway, it all worked out in the end. So this kit contains designer series paper, okay, and it contains a sticker sheet. And here's the thing, don't hang up, don't leave if you're not a scrapbooker, because these things can all be turned into cards. In fact, if you want to, you can buy just the designer series paper pack and not all of the directions and not everything else, and it's a lot less. It's like the typical, maybe about $12. But I decided to buy the whole pack because I really wanted to see what it was all about. I also realized that I certainly could use it to make cards if there was enough left over, and I wasn't at all sure that there would be. But I thought, okay, let's just give this a go. If you don't try it, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So it comes with one sticker sheet, and that's this sheet right here. And then it comes with 2 of these spiderweb background sheets, so that's going to be a double layout. If you're a scrapbook person, you'll understand what that means, and if you're not, by the time you're done doing this, you really would understand it. I'm not kidding you. And then there's another 2 pages that are kind of like a graph paper outlined in black. And of course, you're not going to see most of that anyway because you're going to cover it up with your pictures and your background, but there's another 2-page layout. I'm going to set that over here because we're not using that tonight. And yes, we are making a card, in case you're thinking, no cards? Yes, we are making a card tonight. Okay, there were 2 of these, 2-sided, and I had to use one, but I have one left over. And as far as I know, if I did everything right, I have covered all 6 pages. So you will have leftovers that you can do more scrapbooking pages with or something else. So here's another one that I used 1 page of, but there's another one left over. And now there was one that I had to use both pages, I think, or that might have been a dark one, a black one. So now this is the cardstock. It's somewhere between our DSP and our typical cardstock. Now this is Stampin' Up! Stuff. This did not come from close to my heart. These are all Stampin' Up! Colors. We've got, oh my gosh, pumpkin pie, and we have, gorgeous grape. These are all our colors. But they made the paper slightly differently because you don't need to have it. If it's going into pages, it doesn't have to be as sturdy as it needs to be if you're making a card or a 3D project, let's say. But it's 2-sided cardstock. I don't want to bend it, but it has dark and light. So there's a dark, pumpkin pie, and there's a light pumpkin pie. So they're the same color but different hues or shades, however you want to say that. And then there's the Granny Apple Green, and that's the same thing. And at least so far, I haven't seen where I'm using both sheets of this, so I was a little confused by that. I'm sure that's user error, and it will come to me at some point. There were 2 of the Gorgeous Grape, and I used 1. And then there were 2 of the, I think this is Pool Party, and I haven't used either of those either. And then this is just, and then there's 2 of white. 2 of white. I've hit my water cup like 3 times now. So 2 of the white. And then this is just your back sheet like you find in our DSP that tells you what colors are involved. And it's basic black, gorgeous grape, granny apple green, pool party, pumpkin pie. And so this is something we have sort of adopted, so to speak, from close to my heart. They had a white cardstock. I can't remember what it was called now, but it's actually brighter than our basic white. So we had to rename it. We didn't use their name, but we're calling it Willow White. And I forget what theirs is called, but maybe it doesn't matter. So the way the directions work, okay, is that it tells you that there's Project 1, Project 2, and Project 3. And each one is a 2-page layout, okay? So it gives you the cutting guides for everything, and I wondered why it didn't say Project 1, Project 2, Project 3. That really confused me for a while. And then I started to notice that things were labeled like 2A, 1A, 2F, 3C, but it wasn't like this was all 1 and this was all 2 and this was all 3. So I realized what they were trying to do, which is really extremely clever, is they were trying to maximize the paper. They were trying to get the most out of each sheet of paper that they could get. And if you tried to do all of these things separately, you'd end up with a bunch of scraps. In the long run, I ended up with this as labeling extra, and I labeled everything because, in case I was wrong, this as extra. Both of these are enough to at least make one card. This is extra. This is extra. This is extra. You see how they had you cut it even? So I cut it not the way I would normally cut. This is extra, and this is extra. So the black one was the only one where you had to cut into 2 pieces to accomplish your goal. So those were all extra. And then in terms of things that couldn't be used for anything, maybe, this is what I had left. just these little scraps over here on my right. That was all I had left. That was really possibly an unusable scrap. And some of these longer strips actually could be used for something. So that was pretty clever of them, but it confused the heck out of me at first. So what I ended up doing was following their cutting guides. All right, I'll explain these in a couple of minutes. I followed their cutting guides, and then when I was all done, I went through and I put everything that said 1 in a pile. So I have 1G, 1H. They're not in alphabetical order, but that's okay. As long as it said 1, I put it in a pile. 1K, 1J, 1D, 1E. There, and some of them are very little. Some of them, like that one's a little bit longer. Then we've got these two, which are 9 by 9 pieces of that designer series paper. Unfortunately, I love the back part. I just love it. Now you had to pay very close attention to directionality when you were cutting these, because if you accidentally cut that way, you would be ruining your ability to use these in layout number 2, going in that direction. But we are going to be using this side for this. Now everything else is 2 or 3, so I'm going to get those out of the way because we're only going to work on 1 tonight, at least I think. That's my goal, is to work on 1. All right, and then these are meant to duplicate the picture size that you're supposed to be using. So it allows you to take a look at if this is, well, maybe that's not the one, but if it's going to sit on a photo mat, how is it going to look? Is that the one that goes there? I think it is. And some are 3 by 3, some are 3 by 4, and some are 4 by 6. So kind of typical sizes, except maybe the 3 by 3. Not everybody does square photos. I do think they're kind of cool though. So, and every single pack comes with one of these, so it's not like you've got to save these every time and not lose them. I already dropped them on the floor and ran my chair over one of them. That was like really sad. Anyway, so here I have everything I need to make layout number 1. She says, hopefully. All right, so I'm going to get my these are kind of like your base pages, so to speak. And you can see that the layout uses, the simple part is just going to be where we first start. So here you go. This is piece 1F, and it's going to go here. Now, there is something that's a little bit trickier that you can do or not do. And let me see if there's more of a close-up of that. Well, yes and no. So what they're suggesting that you do, and you can do this with a ruler and a fine tip marker, they suggest using possibly your black Stampin' Write marker. Hang on, I gotta move it down. Nope, down, 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 there we go. So they are suggesting that I'm gonna grab a pencil so you can see it. Take a ruler and a black fine tip black marker and make little like sewing lines down the side, outlining that. Now, if that's just not your jam, then don't do it. If it's going to stress you all out, then just don't do it. It doesn't matter. It looks just fine this way. So this is 9 by 9, and we could go ahead right now and just glue those on because there's not anything else that has to be done there, I'm hoping. All right, so we'll go ahead and glue that. It kills me. Just kills me to cover that up, though. I just love this paper, but it's too busy to be an actual background. I get that. But have no fear. We're going to use that in a card, okay? So don't worry about it. Ugh. Did I grab the glue bottle that just doesn't want to squirt? Hang on one second. There's always more glue. All right, let's just try one of these for now and see if that one's working. Okay. Just kills me to do this. Now, because this is such a large piece, and certainly more than we would typically use for card making, if you wanted to use your Stampin' Seal, that might be a better bet. It would go a little bit faster, maybe. And you don't want this to come apart for sure. When you spend a lot of time working on a scrapbook layout, you do not want it to fall apart. But typically in a 12 by 12 scrapbook, this is going into some type of a page protector as well. So it's not like it's going to fall apart and pieces of it are going to fly everywhere. So this is 9 by 9. It's a perfect square, so I don't have to worry about, is it going in the right direction. There is no direction. It's polka dots, so there's no directionality to that either. Not as easy as a card, though, to get it lined up if it's crooked to begin with. I'm going to stand up so I can get a better angle. I'm also not going to hate myself if I don't get it perfect. Okay, so that's one page. And then here's the second one. Oh, that's the one that wasn't cooperating. I'm at the point now where I have a basket full of partially, if not mostly, used glues that I won't throw out because I know there's some glue left in them. And so I'm just picking them up and using them every time I'm doing something until I just can't get anything else out of them, and then I'm tossing them. And remember, this glue is very strong and you honestly do not need to use a lot. All right, so again, I don't have to worry about directionality. I am still standing up because I just feel like I need a bird's eye view of this. It will be better. It still may not be perfect, but... Okay, so there's 2 pages started. So already I feel like I've accomplished something. All right, so now we need to look at the directions, and I'm going to also grab these because these directions seem to be the ones that make more sense. They're just not in color. So the cutting is all done. Oh, and just also for your own sake, I don't know if they're going to redo these when they start, reproducing them, if they make more, or if they're just always going to be wrong and they're always going to have the correction online where you can print it off. But what I did was I color-coded it. So everything that was supposed to go on layout 1, I circled with a blue marker. Everything that was for layout 2, I circled with an orange marker. And everything for layout 3, I circled with a purple marker. And it just helped me make sure that I had finished all of them and that I had, checked them all off and made sure they were right. And then as I did each page, I put a check mark next to it. Also pay attention at the bottom of each little area here. They show you the cutting orientation. So you're cutting this so that this paper is going horizontally. The stripes are going horizontally here. You're cutting this one so that the books are going horizontally, and so on. Okay, so you just want to make sure that you follow those directions and you should be good to go. So then when we get into the actual assembly directions, okay, so this is why the parts are all labeled, because it's kind of like putting together IKEA furniture, if you've ever done that. Although that's a real nightmare. This wasn't a nightmare. Once I caught on, once it all clicked, I was like, okay, now I get it, I understand. So the parts have numbers for a reason. So they're telling you to adhere 1A to the exclusive spiderweb paper for base page. So that's what we did. And I went ahead and did 1A, and I also did 1F. Okay, so I'm all done with that. So that part is done. So I did kind of jump ahead, but I figured that was safe to do. So now we'll just work on one section, though. So we're just working on this first page that has the 2 pictures of the cute little kids with the pumpkins. So angle cut 1D and 1E and 1 piece of black sticker. Okay, so here's where that comes in. So sometimes you're going to be using DSP, and sometimes you're going to be using the sticker. So it's telling me to angle cut 1D and 1E, so I need to find those. So this is 1D right here, and this is 1E. And we are using the opposite sides of them. So even though they're the same, we're using one as the blue or the green side, and one is the striped side. And then we're also, so when they say angle cut, they're just talking about, and you could flag, if you like the flag, you could do something like this, the arrow point, it's really up to you. But they're saying angle cut, so that's what I'm going to do. We're just making a little angle cut. All right, and these are going to hang down like a banner. So I'm also now making an assumption that I think is correct, based on what I'm seeing in this picture, that these are going to hang down together, and that the part of the sticker that I'm cutting off is going to be about the same length as these. All right, so I'm just going to kind of put that up against that. I'm going to peel back the corner of this sticker and only take off what I absolutely need, because I suspect I'm going to be using this again. So I'm going to cut off what I think I need. And it's very sticky, by the way. Very sticky. And I'm going to hold it up against this other one and angle cut it again. This time I'm making this one a little bit longer, and if I want them to be different lengths, I can adjust that. So I'm probably going to take, well, maybe I won't take these off yet. I just kind of want to see how this works. So they're showing it where they've got the black one over on the left, and then this black and white one over there. That's the sticker. And then the green on the end. I kind of feel like I might like it better if the green was in the middle, separating the two black. So here I am already making a change just based on me and what I think might look better. Absolutely does not mean that you have to. You really can't even see the green in this particular picture, but basically they're just putting them like that. Okay. And now I see why they did that, because they wanted the sticker to be sticking to both papers. But I don't care about that. So I'm just going to stick it like this with a little bit of glue. And put that on the bottom, and you can spread them out or not spread them out as you like. Okay, so there you go. I'm just doing mine a little bit differently than they did there. And they're leaving this kind of uneven. They didn't cut this. If we were making this into a card, I'm sure that, I would tell you to trim that off so that it doesn't hang off the edge. But they're actually letting it hang off the edge, and they're fine with that, so I'm going to be fine with that too. I don't really have to put glue on that because it's already a sticker, but I will put a little bit of glue under this one just to make sure I'm holding that down nicely. And then a little bit of glue there, and just maybe a tiny bit of glue on the sticker just for good measure. So they have it kind of on the edge at a little bit of an angle, and it's going over the edge a tiny bit. So that's okay. Now, if we're going to do that stitching, faux stitching that they suggest, then I guess I'm just going to have to go around that part there. So there you go. So that's that part. And then I hadn't even noticed this before, but they've got stars on either side. And I'm guessing those are stickers too, maybe? I don't know. Maybe not. I'm not seeing star stickers. Let's see. Does it mention star stickers? I don't know. Am I just missing it? Oh, yes. These little things that look like clouds. They're the stars. Okay, never mind. I was wondering why they had black clouds on there, but okay. So, yes, so there are two star stickers. They seem to be about the same size. And they have one over here. Oops, except it's, like I said, they're very sticky. One over here, and then they have one over here on the orange. So there we go. So it's like, color by number, sort of. You're just following the directions. All right, so then here, this is where I want to go back to the black and white one, because the directions are supposedly better. So I did that angle cutting. Okay, it says to draw the faux stitching around here, but I think I'm gonna wait. I would just have to stop it, where something is in the way, and that's okay, because I may decide at the last minute that yes, I want to do that, or no, I don't. So let's just wait. And here, 1B and 1C. Okay, is that what we just did or no? Angle cut. 1D, no, so adhere 1B and 1C. Okay, so 1B and 1C, I think, are these. So yes, they're the photo mats. Okay, so these are our photo mats. Oh, not that one. Maybe they're all the same, it doesn't matter. All right, so we're adhering 1B and 1C, and they have those. I'm going to keep going back and forth between the colored one and the not colored one. They have those sort of like this. So one of them is going off the edge a little bit, like that. Maybe not quite that far off the edge. Yeah, maybe. And a little bit up from the bottom, but not too much. So one is going there, and I guess one is going, they're very close together, so I have to keep moving that around. I'm not sure why I feel like I need to leave that there, but at least for now I feel like I do. So they're close together this way, but there's a good margin on that side, maybe an inch. So they're certainly not telling you all of that because you're going to use your eyeball. You know what I mean? You're going to figure it out for yourself. I'm also seeing that there are 2 strips of something here, and those are on the sticker sheet as well. And it looks like that one of them is going to be the length of the of this, which is, I think, was it 4 by 4 or 4 1/4 by 4 1/4? All right, let me look at the one where the directions are right. Adhere, prepared 1B and 1C. Do not use adhesive along the top of 1B and the bottom of 1C. So they're telling us that because we're going to take a couple little things and stick them under. So we're going to adhere so that there is no glue here. So my trick is to put your thumb where you don't want the glue. You've probably heard me say that before. So that if you want to slip something in, or if it's something that's hanging off the edge, let's say on a fun fold or something, you don't have to worry about it. So my thumb is going where I don't want glue. But I certainly want glue every place else, just not really at the very top is what I'm thinking. So now I'm going to take another look at that. Move that out of the way for a minute. So this is over the edge with a very little margin on the bottom and kind of closer to the edge of the spider web there. So that works for me. Again, it may not be perfect. I didn't take measurements. Pull that up a little bit. Okay. There we go. And then this time I don't want any glue on the bottom. So I'm going to hold it. My thumb is now on the bottom. Not that there really is a difference, but that's where I want to put it so that it's, you just have to make sure you place it down correctly. There's no bottom because there's no direction, no picture, no nothing on it yet, but you could still glue it on upside down, couldn't you? Okay. So now this is going to go on this way, so the opening is at the bottom, and this one looks like it's maybe an inch or inch and a half from the bottom, maybe 1/4 of an inch away from the one next to it. That looks good to me. So there we go. Now this has a little opening there, and this has a little opening there. And that is because we are going to stick 2 of the stickers down. So we're going to stick the one that says Happy Halloween or Halloween Fun. And we're also going to stick, I'm going to stick that on my lamp for a minute so it doesn't go away. We're also going to stick some of this green stripe thing down. So again, we want to be careful though. We're going to cut it so that it is pretty much as long as this is. All right, so I'm going to lift up a corner like I did with the black polka dot one, and I'm just going to sort of hold it over here and just get some kind of an idea. I don't want to make it too long, and if it's a little bit shorter, I won't mind that. I just don't want to run out if I'm supposed to be using this again elsewhere. Okay, so we've got that. And we've got the Halloween Fun. And if I look at this, it looks to me like the Halloween Fun is under this green strip so that you're really just seeing Halloween Fun and not a lot of room underneath it. So I think it's going to go kind of like this. They're showing it sort of over to the left. So we're kind of lining it up like that so it's right underneath and not covering up the letters, but very close. How's that? Okay. And then, I don't know, I can't tell if they angled it or not, and they're not telling me to in the directions, so maybe I won't worry about angling it. Let's see if I'm right on about the length. Boy, I was pretty close. Pretty close, except, you know what, if we're tucking it in here, then I may have to make it shorter because it may not fit to tuck. Let's see. I think I left most of the top open. I did. Okay, let's get my fingernail under that. All right, and yeah, there's a good amount of it showing. So I'm sliding it down there. And then I'm just going to press everything down. So we're getting there. It's starting to look like a scrapbook layout. And I have to tell you, I like pocket scrapbooking because you don't have to do this, but this I don't mind at all. Once I did all this initial prep, I feel like I know I should shut up right now, but I feel like I know what I'm doing and I'm going to succeed. Now, I probably should not have said that, but I did, so we have to deal with it. All right, so now we want some more of that green because that's what's going under here. However, I could cheat and keep it short because we're putting a sticker there and a sticker here and a sticker there. So I don't really need that full length of green, which might save me some for later. So I'm also going to go ahead and peel off this October 31st sticker, and I'm sticking that to my lamp over here. I'm going to peel off this You Cast a Spell on Me, how sweet is that, and put that on my lamp. And then I'm going to go ahead and peel back some of this green sticker again. And this time I'm only going to put take like that much. And I hope that wasn't a mistake. But that's my story and I'm sticking with it, as they say. Okay, so now I can stick this up underneath here. Kind of think I want to bring it over to the right just a little bit more. Maybe. Okay, a little bit more to the right, because I think this white sticker that says 31 on it is going to be longer than the other one. So then you put that down there, and now this goes over here. The 31 looks like it's coming close to the bottom of the page, maybe 3/4 of an inch away, and close to the side of the page. Again, there's no rule that says I have to do it this way, but I'm more than happy to let them tell me what to do. And then the You Cast a Spell on Me sticker is up here a little bit more. And no, but it doesn't overlap too much on the other one. We probably don't want it to overlap too much on the other one. Because I think the bottle one is going to overlap. You Cast a Spell on Me, and then I forgot to grab the little bottles. Here they are. Oh, how cute are they? These are very good quality stickers, by the way. They're not like dollar store stickers. They're very thick. They're cardstock thick. They're really nice. And then this one comes down a little bit and covers up a little bit of that, but not all of it. There we go. Yeah, I think that this is sticky that's going to last. I don't think I even needed to add glue to it. Sometimes I think about adding glue to stickers, but these seem to be really good. So if I'm not mistaken, we just created a layout. Would you look at that? I don't know about you, but I'm excited. So now I'm guessing that these 3x3 photos are intended to go there. Hang on, where's my... But no, okay, because they have a much smaller border. So this is just kind of for your use, but I'm guessing that these photos are bigger than that. So you would really just have to figure out, let me see how big these are. You would just have to figure out if these are 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. That's what I thought they were. So these are 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. This one is not square. This is slightly different. 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. So you would probably want your photos to be, depending on how much of a border you want, you'd want your photos to be maybe 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. You could make it narrower or wider. It would be entirely up to you. And if you wanted to put a 3x3 photo in there and have that big background, you could certainly do that. Everything is entirely up to you. All right? It's whatever you like. So now I feel like I have to go find some Halloween pictures to put in there. So that's layout, well, not layout number 1, but page 1 of layout number 1 done. So page 2 is like this. And already I'm concerned. So page 2 is supposed to have more of those. Why don't I have more of those? So these are 2 different sizes, but I should have, I can tell just by looking that they're different sizes, but I have one and I don't have the other one. So somewhere along the line I screwed up. Unless it's sitting someplace else and got mixed in with another thing. All right, so nothing to worry about. I'm going to go back to my cutting directions though and just see. was bound to happen, right? Because I opened my mouth and talked about how I was going to be a big success. All right, so that's... All right, I've got it on my 9. No, that's not the cutting directions. That's the regular directions, I think. Hang on. I think I need the other one. Okay. Okay, I might have put it in the wrong pile, because now I see what happened. So with the black, I bet I'm going to find it. Yeah. So I needed a 1B and a 1C. And that's what, see, I knew I left those stickers on for a reason. So this is a 1B and a 1C on this one. And then I needed a 1H and a 1I. This is a 1I. All right, and I think actually these are the same size. There, so I just need one more of these, and somehow I didn't get one. I may find it in another pile at some point, but I'm not going to worry about it. So another 1I means another 4 1/4 by 4 1/4, not another 1I, a 1H. 4 1/4 by 4 1/4. Oh, it's right under here. Look at that, I did succeed, sort of. All right, so I'm getting kind of excited about this, can you tell? All right, so now we're just going to adhere those down. And those, this one looks like it's about, I don't know, maybe 2 inches from the top and hanging over the stitching a little bit, almost to this edge. So we're going to do that. I'm just going to move this. Yeah, I like the idea that I'm leaving these stickers on because they will help me find something if something seems to be missing. At least that's what I think will happen. There's the glue. All right, and these are supposed to be, yeah, black side up, so, because there's a light black and a dark black, or the light black is really like a charcoal gray, I would say. Hey, Kathy, how are you? From your messages, I gather we're not going to get to see very much of each other in Florida this year. We're going to be like ships passing in the night, huh? Oh, well. Kathy is a friend from Florida, and we were hoping to get some crafting time in together. She'd like to learn more about making cards in particular. Okay, so we're going to put this over to the edge, about 1.5 to 2 inches down. It's not, it's not science, so don't worry about it. It does not have to be perfect. I'm gluing that down. That's good. And then the next one, come on. You may actually get to see me throw a bottle of glue in the garbage tonight. You may hear the kerplunk, because I just won't keep it if nothing's coming out of it, I'm not crazy. Okay, and then this one has a pretty narrow border between these two, and a much more narrow border between the top and that. So we're going to bring that up a little bit more. Okay. And of course it's hard to tell in a picture, and that's all right. And I'm happy that they didn't give you measurements like make this 3/16 of an inch away from this or whatever. That would make me crazy. That would make me just want to give up. All right, so we've got those there. And then we've got all these other little pieces, and I better look at the directions again and just see what they say, but I've got to look at the directions that are correct, so hang on. That is a problem, and I'm sure they know it's a problem, and I'm sure somebody's head might have even rolled about this because it's kind of a big problem to have directions that people can't understand. Okay, so adhere 1F. Yeah, so it's talking about drawing the stitching again, and I'm just not worried about that just yet. All right, so I have a background, and here. Apparently I went out of order, but I don't know how much it matters. I don't even see... All right, and here, what is 1F? Why have we got this big long one here? Oh, this is a 3. This is 3J. We don't want 3J, sorry. 3J goes on the bottom of the pile with the 3s. Okay, there we go. That makes more sense now. All right, so, oh, I see. So this is going to go under here, and this might be kind of a journal spot, but there's also a sticker that goes on that. So let me find the sticker, and I'll peel it off, and I'll stick it to my lamp, so I've got it ready. So we're using the sticker that says what? The spookiest little monster. Oh, here it is. So this one is going to go on that. That's really cute too. So I'm sticking that to my lamp. And then what else is there in the way of stickers here? So then this is going to be a journaling spot here. And you can journal on dark purple. I don't know if it says to use the dark or the light. We could flip it over and use the light. The light is more like, well, I know it's gorgeous grape, but it's more like a dark Highland Heather, if you ask me. And then we're going to use this strip, and, or the other way around, this strip is going to go on top of this, I think. It looks like it might not be long enough, though. But this one's going here, and this one probably was supposed to go a little bit under that one. That's what I'm thinking. But I can cut it down, too. Or there's a sticker that's supposed to go over it, some of this purple sticker with the stars on it. So maybe that'll work just fine. We'll just put the purple sticker over it a little bit further, if that makes sense. So I'm actually going to do that right here before disconnecting it all. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Might be nice if it was, but it doesn't have to be. Now if I flip that over, I'll be able to tell better if it's straight, won't I? Okay, looking good. All right, so we're just going to trim that right there. Yeah, it is very sticky stickers. All right, so that's going to go there. And I think I made that just a little bit too long, so we're going to trim off a tiny bit. I don't usually use my good snips for sticky stuff, but I really want it to be kind of straight and correct. All right, so trying to figure out what that is. So this is supposed to be like a banner kind of hanging down as well. And this might have been a mistake, I don't know, because it just seems like it needs to be longer, unless the purple was a mistake. So I'll check the cutting measurements on those, though. All right, I'm not going to kind of press that down yet, but I think that's how it has to be right there. And I think that's just fine, really. I am going to press it down because I think it's just fine. Oh, but I need to glue that, don't I? All right, well, just stick a little glue under there. We're not sticking anything under it. No, we've got strips that are going on top of it, but nothing under it. All right, then I'll put a little glue on the corners. Well, now that it came up, I guess I can do it. Okay, but then I'm not seeing what those little banner pieces are. Oh, and there's another sticker there. There's a spider sticker. So those are stickers, which is why they're not in the cutting directions, because you're not cutting them because they're stickers. Okay, so we need some of the black polka dots again, and it looks like the green stripes. It's definitely not anything else. Oh, unless, wait a minute. No, you know what? This, hang on, hold the fort. This goes with, no, that doesn't seem right. Oh, because we're using the other side. We're using this side. Okay, I got it now. Hang on. See, look at that. It's all correct. So there's that, and then there's the black polka dot. And so these have to be about the same length. One is a little bit wider. No, maybe it's not. It's about the same. And so I'm going to cut that here. Perfect. And then, of course, when we get to the other layouts, I'll have to see if I did this right, because I'll know if I run out of stickers. So we're just going to angle cut this one a little bit, and then angle cut this one going in the other direction. I think that would be cute. I don't know if that's what they wanted me to do, but that's what I'm doing. And then there is a spider sticker that's supposed to be on here too, but in the picture it's very small. So it's kind of like I need the large print version of this thing. but it is right there, and it's going kind of off to the side of this just a little bit. No, actually lower down. There we go. And then this is going to hang off of here. Okay. So again, it may take some time. Scrapbooking layouts take time, except for Amy, who whizzes through them like nothing I've ever seen before. But most people, it takes time. But this is definitely, if you can follow directions and if you just take your time and read everything. I read every direction out loud to myself multiple times, just so you know, multiple times. And every time I double checked. I said it like, oh, 4 and 4 and a quarter? Yep, 4 and a quarter. 4 and a quarter? Yep, 4 and a quarter. 4 and a quarter? Yep. I just had to do that because I didn't want to mess up. All right, so now this makes perfect sense. So what I thought was the black and white striped paper was actually this orange, which I would be able to see if I was using the color directions. Okay, so that goes there, and we still have some of this left for journaling. So if you're not a scrapbooker or a journaler for that matter, do you know what journaling means? I'm going to move that out of the way and do this on my nonstick mat here. And yeah, it is size-wise, that's right. Okay. I want to leave more room than that, though. If you're journaling, you want to have more room. So I'm going to put it down a little bit further, but not as far down as they seem to put it. And I think that's still going to work. So journaling is where you write, you know, who this is in the picture, that it was Halloween 2024 and little Susie painted her pumpkin and that's her hugging her pumpkin. So you can write some things. And as long as you have a nice black marker, I know we have the Stampin' Write markers, and I have nothing against the Stampin' Write markers, but if you don't want to buy a whole set of them, I think you can buy the black ones separately. I am a huge fan of these. I know I've showed these to you before. I have all kinds of them, of these Micron pens. They are archival quality, and they are permanent. All right. So they're waterproof. They come in all colors, and they come in lots and lots of thicknesses. So the lower the number, the thinner it is. So there's a 5, and there's a 10, I think, that's a little bit thicker. And then there's a 3, which is obviously thinner than the 5. The 1 is, honest to gosh, it's like a hair. It's like a human hair, maybe 2 human hairs. So I really like these for journaling, and they come in multiple colors, but black is always good. And then there are always the black Sharpies, but I prefer the ones that have... They have 2 different tips on the fine tips, and I don't know why. One is kind of a feltish tip, and the other one is more like a ballpoint tip, and I don't know why they're different because they're labeled exactly the same way, I think. If anybody knows different, just holler. I'm more than willing to be corrected. All right, so then this gets stuck on here, and let's see how far up that goes. Well, no, it can't go up too far. So it almost looks like it's going over your picture, which is kind of weird because you're not putting your picture on yet. So that is a little strange. You would almost have to cut like a little section out of your picture to fit it around this, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. And that might be why they only left a little bit here. But they're still showing it over the picture, so I don't know. All right, I'm going to put it on. I'm going to do it that way, and it can always come up, I guess, if it has to. I'm pretty sure, though, that once these stickers stay on for a while, that they're going to become more permanent anyway and more difficult to get off. So there we have a 2-page scrapbook layout. And I'm trying to figure out how long it really took me to do that. So I'm looking to see how long we've been going here. And I did quite a bit of talking at the beginning about the event that I was at. So I don't think it took 30 minutes to do this. Okay, so there, I wish I had a wider view, whatever. But there you have a layout for 4 pictures. And I'm absolutely loving it. And if you wanted to, you could make a smaller black mat here and maybe put one smaller picture there just if you wanted to optimize. And I know sometimes people will put an 8x10 picture on something like this, but they're just kind of showing you different ways to do it. You can absolutely make it your own though. I could have just ignored all of these directions. Well, maybe I couldn't have, but some people could. And that's fine. And now I have all the pieces cut to go ahead and do the next layouts, and I will go ahead and do those and post a picture of them. So I said we would make a card, and we will. So with the leftovers that I had, and I am truly hoping that they really are leftover because I'm not making the other layouts yet, so I'm hoping they really are leftovers. I just pulled together some things. So I pulled out a black card base, and this is all Stampin' Up! Stuff, or not Stampin' Up! Stuff. This is all regular Stampin' Up! Cardstock. This is regular Stampin' Up! Cardstock. This is from the kit. So I had some leftover of the purple. I don't know if I want to use the dark or the light. I'll have to take a look at that and see. I also used the Bat Punch, which retired probably 4 years ago. I did not buy a Halloween set this year because for the most part my customers have not been too interested in making Halloween cards. So this year I actually have one customer who wants to make Halloween cards. I like the lighter color better. And one customer who wants to make some Halloween treat boxes, but I don't know exactly what she has in mind just yet. And we can use retired product for that. I'm just not gonna lose any sleep over it this time around. So this is a Happy Haunting stamp, and this is a spider stamp, and I think they come from 2 different retired sets. So no, these are not available to you right now. And I'm sorry for that. I don't usually like to do that, but on the other hand, I wasn't going to buy a Halloween set and not use it in a class. So, and if I'm selling Halloween cards, nobody cares whether it's retired product or not, so I can use my retired product on cards that I make to sell. Oh yeah, Kathy, we will see each other. We just won't get much time. Last year you left and you said you were coming back, and you never came back. So, and then of course I had to leave. So I think maybe we both had kind of a different kind of year. You had a lot going on. You had a family wedding and other things going on, and that's just kind of life. That's what happens, right? And we deal with it and we accept it because it's what it is. Okay. I can tell this is an older glue because it's like super sticky. And if I just put it down even a little bit, it's sticking where I don't necessarily want it to stick. Oh, yeah, that. So I'm going to do my little zhuzhing thing where I get it to move over, but boy, this is definitely an older glue. I used to, oh my gosh, 10, 12, 21. I used to write the bottoms, the thing on the bottom, the date on the bottom of my glues, because people never believed me when I told them how long a bottle lasted. So I would use like the same 5 or 6 bottles in class, and I'd write the date on them, and then I wouldn't use them, you know, for anything else in between. It was just for classes, and they'd last a ridiculously long amount of time. Okay, well that's a little off kilter, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. So this was a leftover piece, so I thought I'd use that. And when I was cutting out this piece, I cut a little bit too far on one side, so I thought, well, that's no problem. I'll put it on this card, and then I'll lay this layer over that so nobody will see how I messed up cutting that. All right, I'm going to... I'm just going to grab a pin. Note to you, these are regular sewing pins and they are not stainless steel. So these are not pins that you want to leave in your glue because they will rust and they will get rust into your glue. So you don't want to leave them in as like a, whatever you want to call it, as a stopper. It's okay to use them to unplug the glue, and then I put it on the side under a little piece of tape, but do not leave them in your glue because you'll all of a sudden look over and see rust in your glue. Maybe that doesn't matter, I don't know, but I didn't want to find out either. So I'm just using these as layers. All right, okay, there we go. I think that other one has reached the end of its useful life. Okay, so that's going to go kind of like that. I'm not really measuring. I'm not really overthinking it. So there is that little blip there, and I'm just going to cover that up with this. sort of offsetting it. And this is a great thing to do with scraps. You can do more than 2 layers. You can do it kind of wonky where they're going in different directions. You can have 2 or 3 or even 4 layers. It's a great way to use up smaller pieces that you might not otherwise use and not have them go to waste. Okay, oh, that time I grabbed the other glue. Alright, so now this one's going to go here. And then, oh, I don't know if I pulled out dimensionals. Oh boy. I had some right over here. Where did I put those? There's always something I go searching for every time I do a live or a class. Oh, I don't want to open a brand new pack. I know I have some, or I just won't use them. Maybe I'll use glue dots. It doesn't bring it up quite as high as dimensionals, but it does give it some dimension. So this is a bat punch. It punches out, I believe, 3 different sizes of bats, and I picked the smallest one because there wasn't a lot of room on this card. Now the other thing that you can do if you run out of dimensionals, or if you can't find your dimensionals, is instead of just using 1 glue dot, you can use 2, and if you roll it up a little bit, then you're also going to get some extra thickness out of it. Still not quite as much as a dimensional, but it'll pop things up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to put that here. Well, maybe like that. I really want you to be able to see the whole bat, and bats fly in all different crazy kinds of directions, so we'll put him there, just overlapping here a little bit. And then, let's see, the spider. So I did have one other thing I wanted to share with you tonight. It's very strange what my computer is saying. I hope you're all seeing me because it's saying some weird things again. So I've got the Memento Black ink. I've got several of them, and I've had them upside down just so that they get kind of well inked. And I need a piece of scrapbook, or not scrapbook, I've got scrapbook on the brain. I need a piece of scrap paper. That looks like a perfectly good piece of white paper. I don't know why it's in my scrap paper pile, but it's scrap paper now. And I'm going to do a little test. Yeah, sometimes I leave them upside down just to make sure, because the regular Stampin' Up! Pads are sort of upside down all the time, just because of the way they're made. I'm just taking a couple of test runs. Of course, that one was perfect, so the next one won't be. And I'm going to put one of these spiders here. I have to put him a little bit at an angle, just for something fun and different. Oh, that is perfect. Okay. And then the sentiment, I don't know, I really could stamp it right on the Designer Series paper. And sometimes I forget that you can do that. You know, it's like, it's not that I don't know, I just sort of forget to do it. With a light color Designer Series paper, one that doesn't have like a super busy pattern, there's no reason why you can't stamp on Designer Series paper. Now, sometimes you just like the look of having the background or having something that you can pop up, and that's fine. But I'm going to go for just stamping it on the Designer Series paper, and if I decide I hate that, it's easy enough for me just to put another layer over it and pop it up. So you notice that I just keep looking at the stamp pad, or the stamp. So the Memento Black ink pad is a linen pad, which is what our pads used to be years ago, which is why people didn't like them. The problem with the linen pad is that at the same time that you're trying to add more ink to them, you're sometimes also wiping ink off of other spots. So this may or may not be successful. Happy Haunting kind of right in the middle here. And again, usually I would have stamped that on there before I glued it. Okay, that's not bad, but it's a little light, so I might decide to change that. So I've seen some demonstrators do something recently that I think is very interesting. And I thought this would kill 2 birds with 1 stone as far as explaining things to you. So you know that we have the basic white pigment ink and the ink pad, and you've seen me use that before. It's a pigment ink, not a dye-based ink, which means that it takes longer to dry so you can emboss with it, and you've seen me do that before. I know you have. All right? And I have one of them, and I have a re-inker, so I have no need for another one of those ink pads at this time. What's different about this ink pad is that it comes to you uninked with the reinker. You don't have to pay for it separately like you typically do with the regular stamp pads. So it comes to you totally blank, totally uninked. There's no ink on there whatsoever. And then you use this ink and you ink it up. And you probably use the first time, I'd say half the bottle, maybe a third of the bottle, to re-ink it, or to ink it. And then you re-ink it as needed, just like with any other pad. But what some demonstrators have been doing, because they just don't like the linen pad, even though they like the Memento ink, is they've been taking this pad, which is totally blank, and it's the only way you can get a full-size blank ink pad, and they are inking it up with Memento Black ink. Now, here's my big problem. So look at that. It's very wild looking, isn't it? Right now, Memento Black ink is unavailable, so I couldn't order a full one, and I have no idea how much ink this is really going to take to ink this up and make it usable. No idea whatsoever. So I may have to use this whole bottle, and I'm hoping, because I have 3 Memento ink pads that I use in classes sometimes, that I need to have re-inker for them. So I'm just going to try to do this, but I know I'm using a ton of ink. All right, I'm even kind of like squeezing it and pouring it out there. I am going to grab my spoon, and I'm going to spread it around, but I'm going to want to go from edge to edge, and these ink pads are probably about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch thick. They're definitely more than, well, maybe 1/8 of an inch, but I would think closer to 1/4 of an inch. So you can see that this is not really doing the job yet. So that amount of ink is not enough. But I wanted to share this with you because it's a really good way to get our ink pads, which people do like, the foam pads, because they hold the ink really well, and get the look of the dark black Memento ink. Because some people say when you use the Memento ink in the stamp pad that it comes in, you just don't get that dark jet black that you would like sometimes. And we used to have a Stampin' Up! Basic black ink, and I found those 2 pads, and I tried to re-ink them, and first I washed them all out, and everything that came out of them was purple, which I thought was really interesting. My sink was purple, my hands were purple, everything was purple, and then I finally threw them out because I realized it just wasn't going to work. I thought I would rinse them out, bring them back to like new, and then ink them up with the Memento ink, but I didn't like the way they looked at all. So I just tossed those out. They had been dried up for years, so we're getting there, all right? There's not too much white showing anymore, but I just don't know how much we'd have to do to get this to be the way we really want it. But I'm going to keep going, and I just have to remind myself to order a new Memento ink pad, because what happens with the linen is that the ink doesn't always stick to the stamp. And then you say, well, there's no ink over on that spot there, so you ink it again, and then you're putting ink on some spots. See, that is much better. Much better. This, and you probably can't see it, but this is lighter in some spots than in others. So I think once this is fully inked, that I'm going to like this. So that's just a thought. So I'm going to relabel this ink pad on the front so I know it's not my white one. I'm going to make a label for it that says Memento Black. And in the meantime, I should probably do something that makes sure that I don't, well, it doesn't even have to be black. I'm just gonna cross that out so it kind of jumps out at me before I label it, although I think I would know when I opened it that it wasn't white, but you just never know. So I'm just gonna make it goof proof. So we're gonna see how this works, and I'll try using it in a class, and I'll try using it in my videos as soon as I get it more inked up. Yeah, there's hardly any ink left in here. And we'll see how that works. So I just wanted to share that little tip with you in case you want to give it a try. So here's our card. I didn't make an inside for it yet, and I'll probably just stamp the spider, maybe put another bat on the inside. I thought that was really cute. And then I did have just one more thing to show you before I go. So last week I told you that I was doing a display at this event that I was just telling you about, and I did. And one of the things that I was working on last week was a sampler, and I had started it, and then I got a little bit kind of flummoxed because I realized that the set that I was using, the suite that I was using, the only stamps in it were trees. And that was okay, but when I started putting my sampler together, I thought, well, I can't have all trees. I got to have something else. All right, so I'm loving this. It needs some correction, and I'll explain that in a second. So I used the the designer series paper that I showed you last week from the Elegant Season Suite, and then these trees are from the dies from that. These trees are stamps and dies. These trees are stamped and die cut from that set. This is stamped. And then there was kind of like a windy, swirly thing that came with the snowflake set, I believe, called One of a Kind. And I embossed that in white there to kind of look like snow blowing around. And I just put little dabs of Versamark, which you can do using our blender pens, and then put some white embossing powder on the trees on the tree there. So I've got my whatchamacallit light on, my ring light, and sometimes that makes a glare. There we go. I was like, why is it still glaring? I turned it off. This one here in the center is my absolute favorite. This is 5x5. I love the sentiment. Friends and family are the true gift of Christmas. Again, if this was going to be a sampler that was just going to be for Christmas, then you might only have it up in your house in December. And that's fine. You could change it to a winter one by not putting a Christmas sentiment inside there. But I wanted some other things. So I took the, Year of Light or something like that. I did cards with that last week or the week before, I think. I took that stamp set, and I've got them all here so that I could show them to you. And I also have this one called Sophisticated Sled. And I love the sled, but there was no room for the sled on the pieces that were left, so I put the wreath and the ice skates. And then I used this from One of a Kind. I did the snowflakes there, came from that. And I think this came from, no, that didn't come from that. That must have come from this one too, the Sophisticated Tree stamp set. And then this is called Light of the Year or Light the Way or something like that, and I don't seem to have that right here. But this is a beautiful piece of home decor, and you don't have to make a zillion of these and have frames. You can have the one frame and just have these and keep them in a nice plastic whatever so that they're kept safe, a plastic sleeve, and just change out the frames every season, however often you want to do it. You could do it monthly if you wanted to. So if anybody would be interested in making one of these, doesn't have to be for Christmas, it could be just winter. Sometimes you can make them so that they're two-sided, so that there's winter on one side and fall on the other, or spring on one side and summer on the other. So think about that. It would also make a lovely Christmas gift for someone that you know likes things like this. So give it a thought. If you're interested, just let me know. Shoot me a message, and I'll be happy to accommodate. It would be a great thing to do for an at-home party or workshop as well. All right, so thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you catch me on the replay if you weren't here with me tonight, and I will see you 1 week from tonight. Have a great week and a great weekend.